Welcome back, dear friends. What a joy it is to be back. I've finished the reciprocated chronometer kits and all those hideous holes to drill and tap with my lovely machine. I've also finished building a chronological engine for someone, and that's being tested in the kitchen as we speak. And now, at last, back to the ukulele playing machine. Now, my two current issues, that's two. Let me just turn this down because it's probably going to get on your throatnies. First one, problem one, is I could not get it to tune the C string, which is actually had to be tuned down to something else anyway. My ear couldn't do it. It could do all the other strings, but not that one. And the automatic tuning system, which is just there, couldn't do it either. That could do the other three strings. So I've just tried it again this very morrow, and listen, dear friends, this is most exciting. So let's put that on. Right, that's what we want, and yeah, still not quite right, is it? It's a lot closer. If I press the diminuer, I thought Italian would be good, as it's sort of musical. Oh, that's practically spot on. I'm absolutely thrilled. I don't know why, I just couldn't do it, neither could that. Perhaps it was because it was too high. I've had to tone it right down to get it in tune, so we'll give that a go. I'll get it playing and you will immediately be able to hear if it is completely hideously out of tune. Playing melody seems a good place to start. Brilliant, that's the best it sounded for ages. I couldn't work out why, so I'm really pleased. Problem duh, it needs to send through commands saying about moving the eyes, looking around, rolling your eyes up in response to the lyrics. And to do that I need to be able to send a load of numbers through. Now with a serial communication, I got as far as connecting up a grey, a white and a black for ground wire through to, that's for clock and data or whatever, using UART, which whatever. But I was thrilled that I almost got it working. I say almost, because I can send some numbers through, but not reliably. So very kindly, one of my subscribers on YouTube sent me a suggestion on how to actually achieve this, which I'm now going to do, because it seems, what I learned, I think, is that it's all well and good because the Mega will be sending out serial data, but the Teensy won't know when it's expecting to receive it and how long to wait for the next bit of it, and even if there is another bit of it, it seems like the sort of, it all gets a little bit misty and hazy as it goes through the wires. So I'm not going to rely on parseInt, because in the past I was just getting it to read each thing that it received and then parseInt it, which looks for characters that represent a number, an integer, and thing is, it then waits. I didn't realise, but it waits a second because it doesn't know when to finish reading whatever's coming through. And I obviously need everything, the instructions it's going to send through, to work instantly. So here's the printer, EPI Endless. That's right. Very kind. Thank you very much for your continued support and help. Obviously I'm not going to do anything as simple and obvious as put it on a pen drive and put it straight into the laptop so I can program it. I'm going to write it in by hand. I don't know why. I've just come up with a justification that actually it's going to help me to learn, because I'm going to actually engage with each line of code by typing it in rather than just simply getting on with it. Still, mustn't grumble, needs must. I do like this setup that I can control, because look, I've just set it to D. It was completely wrong. So by pressing these buttons, if this is set to D, it will automatically move whichever is the correct motor to tune D up and down. Oh, this is lovely. That's C. You can see it takes a second to actually send through the data. Happy with that. E. Oh, nearly. You can hear the beating. bit more. That'll do for now. And down a bit. I think this ukulele does really expand and contract, and look, you can see as I press the button the little flickering lights. Well, that's better. How exciting. Oh, makes it all worthwhile when you actually get something that carries on working, sort of. This is ever so simple and absolutely ridiculous, but old dog, new tricks. What I've ended up doing is I got fed up with how long it took the Teensy to upload sketches and things. Just while I'm playing, trying to learn about serial communication, I thought I had 2 spare Arduinos. So I have just thought simply, one on each of 2 IDEs, set them up. This one, very simple, waits 5 seconds, sends a number over to that one, which then feeds it back and prints it to the screen, and it's working. It's another great milestone. It's absolutely ridiculous, because initially I tried to get the Uno to actually send a number to itself. It's ridiculous. I know you can type things, but they're not integers, and I need integers. Right, so we've plugged that in, and that's sending it up to the Mega, which is here. That's going to broadcast it, hopefully, serially, over to the dear little Uno. Right, let's see what's happening. Where is it? Serial receive. Let's click on that, see what's happening. Right, and there we have it. All positive integers, not a negative one floating around. What a waste of time. There's only so much room in my brain. Never mind, I've got there. I'm just going to stick with this. Here is the aforesaid creature who has come in to remind me that I really should stop fiddling around with this and get on with more useful employment instead. Right, I've got the 2 new sketches loaded, one on the Mega in there and one on the Teensy there. And look now, dear friends, when I change the pitched tune, that is brilliant. I know there's still a bit of a delay, but that's while the Mega function that reads this potentiometer is waiting until it's decided that I have actually left it where I want it. So that's fantastic. Now, if it works, the serial communication, because I had included a delay, which means that once this gets to the point where Victoria the automaton has to start singing, I had to put a second or whatever delay to get that to work. Let's try it now and see. Play melody. Oh, the joy of strings in tune, I can't tell you. So this is the intro. Ah, brilliant, I think. I think she started a bit too soon or something, so I can take that delay out. Another day and some more progress made with the tuning. I have finally figured out why it was just hanging. It would pluck, it would tune, and it would just stop plucking or tuning or doing anything. The reason was that once it was inside the read frequency function, while frequency measure was available, great, it would do all its stuff. But if it wasn't, it would just keep cycling around waiting for it to be available. But I bet you're there before me. Basically, it isn't available if there's no sound available or being produced. So once the pluck has died down and the string has stopped vibrating, if this is still going around trying to get the average, it can't. So then it just times out. It just sits there, waits forever until this is available. So, dear friends, a cunning plan. I have added, if it isn't available, so if the frequency measure thing isn't available, it plucks it within this function. And I've set up just a little thing so I can tell this function which string to pluck, just to try and avoid any more confusion. It seems to work. I'm absolutely thrilled. It's such an obvious thing, obviously, once you've worked out So I was testing that and then realised that the C-string wasn't plucking properly with its motor. To cut a long story short, the wires were all frayed, so that wasn't causing it, but I'm going to replace the motor. It was this, it was the plucker. Even though it's really tightly pushed on to the motor spindle, it was spinning and slipping and falling and rising and doing all sorts of unpleasantness. So that wasn't helping. You know, you're trying to work out something like this, you're working on that bit of it, sending the instructions through, and then this is suddenly doing all sorts of crazy stuff. What a pain. Anyway, this is what happens when you try and invent something new. I'm going to cut this out of, because I tried tapping a hole, ho ho ho, in a piece of wood, an M3 hole. Ho ho ho, yes, great idea. So I'm going to cut a piece of this, I'm going to cut this out of 8mm thick acrylic, and then I can tap it and put a grub screw in, because obviously we need to sort this out. And also it's clacking. This was spinning round backwards and forwards and hitting a little screw, and there was no cushioning, so it was clacking. I noticed that was getting more and more pronounced. So this morning I stuck a bit of red felt on it and that made it completely silent. So going backwards a little bit, but hopefully to go forwards shortly. Here's the extremely complicated design. And here's the extremely filthy laser cutter. And here's the extremely noisy 3D printer. I decided I'm just going to spend every day, because these take 5.5 hours to print, the gauges, the motorised gauge kit things. So I'm just going to leave this running. I'm going to try and get 2 a day done. Rather than leaving it all to the last minute and thinking, hold on, I've run out, I'm just going to get a stock of them done. The other great thing about having a well-equipped workshop is when we can do textiles work and stuff. When your shirt starts falling to pieces and gets hooked on everything. How fantastic. I don't know why shirts go around here. But, well, good as new. And there we have it. New motor connected. I've extended the stop screw a little bit. The felt's there, 8mm thick acrylic. Doesn't make any noise now when it goes backwards and forwards, and I can tighten it in place with this. And I've even this time, because it was a bit gung-ho when I first did it, I've sanded a little radius around the end of the filament. Once I start improving things, I just can't stop. Another version. This has got 2 benefits. One, because the angle of it means it can actually turn further, so the little plucker ends up further away from the string. And secondly, it's got a rubber band with felt on it, and that I've discovered is completely silent. It stops any sort of clacking. I'm really pleased with that, and I also put a grub screw in it because it couldn't quite fit through the hole. So I'll now get that reassembled and see what difference that makes. If it works, because I've noticed that a lot of them are clackering now, clacking, I will make one of those for each of them. That is so much better. It's not clacking. I've just listened to the other ones. It's not bouncing back either to touch the string it's just plucked. I'm really pleased with that. There comes a time when only a pair of bolt cutters will suffice. I've realised, I mean, it seemed like a good idea at the time, having threaded bolts through here that you could twist backwards and forwards, but they're all wobbly. The tolerances are so loose with M5 bolts that all these you try and set up and then they wobble around and they're difficult and stiff. So because I stupidly glued, look at that, stupidly glued the these little balls on the top, there's no other way of getting them apart. I'm so pleased. I'll tell you, bolt cutters have 1,000 uses around the home, especially if you've got lots of bolts to cut. There's no other way I could have done this without absolutely ruining the whole thing. The plan is, I've got lots of these for the reciprocating chronometer clocks, so I can have 2 of them, lovely, M4, to adjust each motor. Why didn't I think of that when I first designed it? It's so obvious rather than coming up with some other way. but this is the only way you can do it. You know, I'll get this done because I think it's going to make a huge difference. Use a hacksaw to cut up 8 pieces of 5mm diameter steel rod. Oh, how 2022. Use bolt cutters. Yet another use for them. Fantastic. Admittedly, the ends will need a little bit of tidying up with the sanding machine, but who cares? I've got them fixed down, beautiful, lovely, and here are the first two. Don't they look splendid? I'm very pleased with them. And it's great because I can now adjust them with the lovely little brass thingies, and I've got these screws that clamp the motor in place on the outside, so wherever they go. So I'll get these two fitted in, and the other two obviously somehow got a huge chunk of cack on them. Don't know where it came from, hoovered them, cleaned them, all the rest of it, but just sanded it down and respraying those two. Right, we've got them all installed. What a joy to be able to adjust them like this. So let's give that a go. What's happening is it sometimes, because of that increased padding and the rubber band, it sometimes bounces back. I wish someone had written a book or an internet article on how to make a ukulele string plucker out of a small motor. Sadly they haven't. I suppose the responsibility has fallen to me. I have just spent an hour designing and testing, making and testing the new one that looked like it would travel far further, but then just kept bouncing. It worked in one direction but not the other. This is lovely because I can take these off really quickly. So now I've gone back to the original one with a slight angle, a longer string, and now I've just cut the end off it because I couldn't figure it out. I was fiddling around with my plucking sketch, changing the length of time that it would stay on for. And guess what, dear friends? I hadn't noticed, of course, that this is the one that works on the C string that I'm looking at. This is the first one that works on the G string. This is the one that I was fiddling with while testing it on that string. So none of the changes I was making had any effect whatsoever. One step forward, 20 back. Joy unbounded. It's working. I've put the original, the new right angle 90-degree one on, and it is now working simply because I changed the pulse length to 80 milliseconds. So it switches on for 80 milliseconds one way and then the other, and that's enough to actually get it past the string into the rubber band and then to stop it so it doesn't bounce. Oh, I'm so pleased. So I've got that one done, and I believe, anyway, I'll get on and tweak the other ones. I'm so pleased. You know, when you get to the stage in a project and you just think, I'm never going to solve this, and it just goes round and round in circles, but I am solving it slowly. I've got the new improved plucker on, and it works beautifully. I'm so pleased to have got this sorted out, because now, so that's D, that works perfectly, the C string. Let's try E, perfect, and A. Oh, that is brilliant. Oh, I can't tell you. It's one of those things, you know, I was just thinking, well, it's okay, it works, and so forth. But it always sort of bugged me a bit. And also what I like is, I think I managed to sort out the biggest, what is it, the C string, the one that I was having so many problems with. It's nice that it's slightly higher and it's got a longer thing, and it's really nice. These are all now slightly at different levels, and an absolute joy to adjust. It's lovely. Auto-tuning very nearly works. It works for the reflections. It works for the A, E, G and G, well, A, E and G strings, and I've moved the C string to last so it can get through then and when I'm tearing my hair out, because it's just carrying on doing that. And every time it does that, it means that it's not being able to get an accurate frequency reading, so it can't move motors or do anything. So still got a bit of work to do on that, but it's coming together. And then obviously I can switch it to manual tune C, which is great. We've got the sine wave coming out there, and then with that the timed plucking happening now on this, it just stops if I need to raise or lower the pitch, which is great. I think that is definitely enough for another video. It's so easy to get completely carried away, but I'm thrilled to have actually achieved the main goals so far, which is to learn how to use and to start using the serial interface to send integers, and to sort out the plucking and the tuning, which I've almost done. So that's really good. Yeah, think about the positives. Thanks very much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. As always, if you've got any questions or queries, please do let me know in the comments. Oh yes, I've got a question for you. It's a biggie as well. I want to know, because if you remember, I've been talking about building a separate unit that will have Victoria the automaton singing along with all this, and I've always assumed it would be wall mounted because it weighs a ton, but you could hang it on a wall and it does work on a wall. Then I started thinking, just in order to get this done sort of thing, perhaps I could actually fix Victoria the automaton on this other platform, which has got nothing on it, and then it sort of makes it into one machine, one cohesive machine, and then she can sing along sitting there, and it can sit on a table. There's no reason why this can't sit on a table, like in exhibitions and things. It's nice. Centerpiece. Have it on your coffee table. Let me know what you think. So, two alternatives: Victoria mounted on the machine itself, or Victoria mounted in a separate unit that sits somewhere else. I would love to know. Thanks very much for watching. Please remember to click like, subscribe. Hope to see you next time. Having finished the video, I've got to tell you about this. This is so exciting. I had a look at the plucking function, which used to use delays. Let me show you. Here's the original one, and it basically just ran through, and if each string needed to be plucked, it would then pluck it and then wait with a hideous delay. Oh, they're hideous, because they stop you doing anything else during the meanwhilest, and then it would stop the motor having plucked it. And I realised, having added more and more times onto these to get them to work properly, to pluck properly, that you know, it was adding all sorts of strange timings to the music. Depending on which notes you plucked, it might last, you know, how many milliseconds, and might last a lot less. So then onto the lovely millis. Now the millis, this is the way everyone suggests you do it, is a counter that counts in milliseconds up from once you first switch the Arduino on. So I created all these lovely unsigned long millis that would take the number of milliseconds since it was switched on, and then add, for example, so this is the first string to be plucked because it's the top one, so that's going to happen instantly, and then it's going to switch off that time plus 60 milliseconds. The next one, I added 20 milliseconds between each pluck, just to allow, sort of model the way that your fingers work when you're strumming, and so on and so forth. And then, I have to say, I made several stupid mistakes, but now it just cycles round and round and round and round, checking each time, do I need to pluck this string? Is the time that I set smaller than the current time? If it is, yeah, pluck it. And then it does that for each of the 4 strings. And then after that, well, in the same loop, it then checks whether it's time to switch off each motor. And it is gorgeous. It works beautifully. I'm so excited.